Warning, this content may be disturbing to some audiences. Subscribe. If you dare. I see literally every piece of data sent or received by every computer in the network. Not only do I see the data, but I can edit it on the fly. Hey everybody, welcome to AskReddit. People ask Reddit. Hackers on Reddit, what are some cool/scary things about our technology that aren't necessarily public knowledge? Serious. Number 1. Commenter. Almost all industry computers, think controllers for huge factories, power plants, water reclamation, distance heating, etc., have well-known default passwords or even hard-coded admin accounts. Back in the day, this was not a huge problem because you would run them on private networks with no connection to the internet. Nowadays, the internet is available everywhere and much cheaper than private networks, so many of these industry computers are now reachable from the internet. People that know what they are doing would only make them accessible over a VPN, but there is a very large number of people that shouldn't be allowed anywhere near a keyboard. Person B. A lot of this happens because the things are running real-time OSs that prioritize data I/O speeds over security. A standard computer is a time-shared OS, which means there is a non-deterministic amount of time between an interrupt happening on the chip level and the correct program receiving the data. Writing a secure real-time OS is really hard, and only one company to date has succeeded, and they sold themselves off to BlackBerry QNX. It's nice to go on and on about system security, but sometimes is just impossible, and air gap is all you can have in some situations. Source: I write code for a lot of these things for a living. Person C. Worked at a city pool a few years back. Chlorine and acid controller was hooked up to the internet and the password was password. Talked to the service tech and said nobody ever changes it, and if they do there is another login method. So I can easily increase the chlorine levels to an uncomfortable amount from my new city 900 miles away. Person D. Kind of funny thing along those lines, almost every single Diebold or NCR ATM has 1234 as the terminal password. You still need to access the keyboard, but none of that is inside the safe, just inside the locked upper cabinet/hatch. Though you can't just make it spit out cash with a few keystrokes, you could take it offline and maybe load up a game of Minesweeper on the customer screen. Person E. I program controllers for a living, actual software running on the device, and I can confirm this. Security is the last thing that gets implemented. If it even gets implemented. You better have IT guys who know what they are doing. Person F. Not only that, but those computers that do have admin accounts with difficult passwords may more than likely have a BIOS that will allow you to boot onto a USB disk. This will allow anybody that does this to directly modify the hard drive offline. This means you can edit the registry, rewrite the administration password, disable drivers, nullify deep freeze driver, install software, keyloggers, remote administration, downloaders, remote recovery tools, anything you could possibly want. And even crazier, this can be done using a script that would run within about 15 seconds and can be disguised to look completely harmless. Just plug the USB in, hit F12 or whatever specified by the BIOS and wait till the script you wrote finishes, then you own that workstation. It's terrifying how easy it is, and if they don't boot via USB, just hook something like a Raspberry Pi up to the same router at reboot. 99% of machines will attempt to load boot images via TFTP. Host a Linux image over TFTP using a Raspberry Pi and you've effectively done the exact same thing, it just looks a little more suspicious. Number 2. Commenter. The fact that wind turbines and power stations are publicly accessible. Person B. Reminds me of how all you need to loot an ATM is one of just a few handful of keys available on eBay, and a USB stick with a custom boot ROM. Open, stick in the USB, withdraw all the cash. It's so easy it's stupid. Yet, it seems like the only people interested or capable of writing these custom ROMs are luckily people that don't need/want to break in. Number 3. Commenter. You can have the strongest IT system in the world. You can spend billions on software and hardware protection, but if I can ring the new employee called Kathy and say, "Hey Kathy, you're new here, right? Yeah, it's John from IT security, there's been a breach and I need the sysadmin password quickly so I can patch it up." "Okay," says Kathy, under stress to fix the problem, and there I have it. I got the password. It's called social engineering, and 9 times out of 10 that's how people hack accounts. Person B. I worked at a hospital corporate office, and right after 3 weeks of training I got to go to my actual department for my first real day, confident I know all the computer systems now. Day 2, I got called to the security office because apparently someone using my login and password accessed 2 systems in the training center after I clocked out. So, I changed all my passwords, and entered my passwords on the effing shared drive because that's the stupid F rule, and went to work. Days 3 and 4 were a repeat of day 2. Day 5 they decided to install secret cameras and caught an IT employee sneaking into the training center after accessing my new passwords on the shared drive daily, trying to figure out how to edit an account of a family member to change it to stop a lawsuit. I was chosen because I was new and the only new person with editing power over all systems. We were required to keep our passwords in an unprotected Excel document that only IT and management, and of course myself, would only ever go into if necessary. After that, I kept it updated with fake passwords. Person C. I work at a bank and have foiled many social engineering attempts. Some I've almost been fooled by. They're smart and generally know what they're doing. It's a huge problem that a lot of people practically ignore. Person D. My building houses several of the company's servers in our basement, so we frequently have IT techs coming to check on potential issues, update, troubleshoot, etc. the usual IT on-site work. One afternoon, a man comes in dressed in an outfit that's similar to our IT tech's outfits. He approaches a teller and tells her that he's been called out to check on our systems. She doesn't ask him any questions and goes to get the key to let him into the server room. I've been watching this from my desk and was mildly suspicious to begin with, as I did not receive notification from anyone in our IT department that they were sending someone, red flag number 1. So, I tell the teller to hold on and ask the guy for his name. He gives me what I can only assume to be a fake name. I then ask why he doesn't have his badge on, and he laughs and says he was in a rush and forgot it at home, red flag number 2. At this point I'm already not going to let him anywhere near our server room, but I ask him who sent him. Normally, when asked, the text will say, name of our IT director, should have told you we were coming out today, but this guy just named the company, red flag number 3. He was extremely quick to make up an excuse to get the hell out of there as soon as I told him I needed to call the IT company and verify with them. As he left, I grabbed the license plate number of the car he hopped into and let our local police department know, then sent an email to our security department so they could warn other branches, because they never just try one place. They're hard to catch because you have to focus on the little details they give you to find them out. The more generally they're able to answer/talk, the easier it is for them to manipulate the person/situation to get what they want. I've twice stared down the barrel of the gun a robber was holding to my face, and I'd rather deal with it than social engineers. If you come in carrying a gun, at least I already know you're a criminal. Person E. Social engineering was a big problem when I answered phones for Verizon. This is John James. I just needed to, such and such, on my account. Alright. Since you weren't able to verify, I'm going to need to call the number you have listed here just to make sure. Okay. Ring ring. Is this John James? Yeah. This is me, with Verizon. Did you just call me? I think I have a guy on the phone saying he's you. Wow. Don't tell him anything. Okay, thanks. Switch back over. Hey, I just called the number and the guy said that he is John James and you aren't. Oh, okay. Did you need anything else? No. Have a good day, click. And I know he probably would call us over and over again until he found an agent who would give him the info. I was able to put a social engineering alert on the account, but he's going to find the weak link sooner or later. The worst is the ones that were very suspicious but had all of the correct verification. Person F. I have been in transaction server rooms that process billions of dollars. Though I was there for a repair, they are taking my word for it. No one questions you with a work shirt and a tool bag. I have also been given full access to banks and police stations, no questions asked. Number 4. Commenter. Those browser warnings about untrusted SSL certificates that everyone automatically bypasses could be an indicator that you're a victim of a man-in-the-middle attack. In other words, your data is being routed through an attacker's system, possibly through an ARP or DNS spoofing attack. By bypassing the warning messages, you have, possibly, just agreed to trust an attacker-supplied, self-signed SSL certificate. This isn't the case 100% of the time, but def a reason to pause and scrutinize the warning. Nearly every single Comcast router I've ever tested is vulnerable to a WPS, Wi-Fi protected setup, authorization bypass vulnerability. Disable WPS to protect yourself against it, i.e. any asshole can join your WPA2 protected Wi-Fi network in 10 hours or less with zero knowledge of your passphrase. Many office buildings have secure areas that require an ID badge for ingress access. However, when exiting said secure area, a proximity sensor detects the presence of a person on the secure side, and unlocks the door without requiring an ID badge. It's possible to abuse the behavior of the proximity sensor on the secure side of the door using a can of compressed air, effectively bypassing the need to have a valid ID badge. Hold the can of compressed air upside down, place a nozzle between door cracks, aim toward the ceiling, toward the location of the proximity sensor on the opposite side of the door, pull the trigger to spray. If the proximity sensor is improperly configured, the door will open as though a person was on the opposite side exiting the secure area. Person B. I read up on WPS just recently. Everyone should have it disabled. It is fundamentally flawed. It's an 8-digit code, with the last digit as a checksum, and it allows you to authenticate the two halves separately. This means that you can guess the correct password in no more than 11,000 attempts, which is not very large at all. Number 5. Every single network maintains something called an ARP table. ARP stands for Address Resolution Protocol. It's basically a table that matches an internal IP address, assigned by your router to each local machine, to a MAC address, a hardwired ID for every network card on a device. So it knows what machine gets what data. The super scary thing about this is, it is 100% entirely unsecured on nearly every local network. Anyone can write ARP data, even the data for other machines. Which means I can tell every single device on the network that my MAC address, and therefore my machine, is the router. Which means all data on the network will come to my laptop, before my laptop sends it to the router. I see literally every piece of data sent or received by every computer in the network. Not only do I see the data, but I can edit it on the fly. I can enact a DNS spoof, assign myself as the DNS server for the network, and decide which domain names go to which IP. Or maybe even worse, I set up my laptop as a web server with a fake Facebook page and redirect all domain names to my IP. Instead of logging into Facebook, you just willingly give me your account credentials. Not only is all of this possible, it's really easy. Script kiddie shit, automated entirely. Public Wi-Fi is extremely insecure for pretty much everything. In fact, it doesn't matter if it's a public network at all. Anyone on nearly any network can do this. Make sure to share your personal story in the comments below and have the opportunity to be featured in a future video. Also, if you like these topics, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button to continue seeing more content like this every day. See you next time.